Hi everybody, it's Emma here, aka Rihanna de la Mort, and we're back for episode 6 of our Vampyr Let's Play. In our last episode, we went over to Whitechapel after fighting the sewer dog or sewer beast, and we also defeated the level 18 ferocious scowl on our way there. So today we're just going to explore Whitechapel and see what's going on with regards to Lady Ashbury's blackmailer. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so we are back in Whitechapel and we just eavesdropped on Darius Petrescu and Dorothy Crane at the illegal dispensary they have running. And we're now going to go and find Richard Nethercott and Clayton Darby in Whitechapel. So that's what we're going to start with today.
XONE Cordial can be the answer to all your problems, as long as you have the money. Good evening, my dear colleague.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Joe, please, I don't have your money.
Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for peace of mind.
Can't you just look the other way this week, Joe? Come on.
You are blinded by your false faith, imprisoned by your daily routine. Unable to see.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
Okay, so we have a choice with this one. And yeah, I think I'm going to go with this one.
I'm convinced there is more at work here than a simple epidemic.
Really? To be honest, I could say the same. Some of the sick I saw or heard of. My God, what happened to them?
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
Yeah, so at this time, basically any of the countries that were involved in World War I would not have basically published any stories about the Spanish influenza. There was only one country that did, and that was Spain, because they were neutral, and that's where the Spanish influenza came from. It's not because it originated there, it probably didn't, but they were the only country that openly reported on the numbers of infected and so on, as to kind of put it out there, whereas a lot of, like I say, the countries that were involved in World War I, they didn't want to demoralize the public and also the troops on the front line, so they hid a lot of what was happening.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
Okay, so I'm just going to play this careful and just say that I care about public health, which would be a normal thing for a doctor to say.
I'm a doctor, Mr. Darby. I care about everything involving public health and this epidemic.
Are you sure you're not just concerned about the repercussions that a scandal involving a certain Nurse Crane from the Pembroke Hospital would bring?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Okay, that's interesting. So we're going to have to find that letter.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
And I think I'm just going to go and find Richard first. Oh, look at him. He did a double jump on me. Yeah, that is going to take me a while to get back into the combat. It's been a few days since I played, so... Always like the first one or two fights, I always find that I don't get back into the swing of things, so it takes a few fights for me to get used to the controls again. Okay, so here is Richard.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest, although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town. My words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear Doctor.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
That's a very strange thing for him to say, but okay. I suppose as with any city, you're going to get noise. So when it kind of is quarantined due to a pandemic, then yeah, it would be quieter.
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives, how she survives, whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox, the stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
Okay, so he's not a fan of Darius.
I'll leave you alone, sir.
But let's go find the letter that Clayton told us about. Just checking for some loot. Okay, so we've got Darius's letter that says, "My dearest, most beloved children, I am so sorry you have not heard from me for a few months. The situation in London has been difficult. I know it may sound selfish and silly when you, my children, are still living in a country consumed by war. But there is also a war going on here in England, a war against poverty, against injustice. This is a war I intend to fight despite my advanced years. This is why I am writing to you today. I won't be coming back to Romania. That probably means I won't see you again before I die. Don't be sad, my darlings. You are grown up now, and you have children of your own. You know the sacrifice we sometimes must accept to make the world a better place. This is one I must make now, to feel useful one more time. I wish you a long and happy life. Kiss my grandchildren for me, and remember that your father loves you all the way from this cold, damp country. I am, as ever, your loving father, Darius Petrescu."
The content of Darius' letter to his children could give me more leverage to enter. Darius is a bit less of a mystery now. It should not be that difficult to incite him to let me in.
So I'm just going to have a quick look and catch up with who we spoke to last time and just check the general situation. So yeah, we've got quite a few people that we need to have a chat with. So I think I'm going to try and do that now before we progress with the story any further, because I'd like to know as many people as possible here before we move on.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly.
Okay, so this is Camellia, who we know is mute. So we're probably not going to get any answers from any of this, but you know.
I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia. Very well. Goodbye then.
And this is just the same voucher that we collected when we fought the sewer beast. And it's for Nurse Crane's illegal dispensary. So we can speak to Camellia again because we just picked that hint up.
Hello again, miss. Camellia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever. Very well. Goodbye then.
Okay, here's someone else to talk to.
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling, but I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor, Dr. Reed.
All right then, but be quick, though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed. or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
You can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Clayton Darby claims he will expose the crisis in Whitechapel to all of London. Do you believe him?
I believe Clayton's courage will erode with time, until he finally leaves Whitechapel to start another fight somewhere else.
Why this skepticism?
How can you speak about starvation if you've never been hungry? Or about poverty? Or anything else you have never suffered from?
Are you talking from experience?
I've seen your type come here to get a good fuck in a cheap room or a dark alley before going back to their fancy houses in the West End.
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
I always thought I was the master of my own fate. But now I know we don't always have control over our lives. I don't judge you.
You know, this money is not only for me. I have good reasons to need this money quickly, but it is not your concern, Doctor.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Anything you can tell me about her would be helpful.
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crăciunescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel. Everyone should respect that.
Okay, so we learnt a new little hint there. Obviously, we knew or we suspected that Dorothy Crane wasn't the real name. And we, you know, now we know that her name is actually Dorothea Crăciunescu, which is obviously Romanian. So that's given us another bit of information
Goodbye.
that we didn't have before.
Take care of yourself as best you can.
Okay, I think we should talk to the priest.
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
If you say so, Father.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Okay, so we have a new quest to find Samuel, the disciple. It's one that we will pick up later on. It's not something that we're going to rush to right now.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought.
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Okay, so we're going to have to kind of double up a little bit here to get all the information. So I'm just going to go with the I'm listening for now.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Okay, so that's a little bit like freaky. He's talking about cleansing fire, so I just think he's planning to set fire to everything that's potentially infected or considered evil or bad by his viewpoint on the world. So let's just find out how he's planning to do it.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
Okay, so we've got a few more hints for Father Tobias Whittaker, and I'm just going to go straight on to I am more lost than you thought.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to say I only believe in facts because otherwise he'll just repeat what he's already told us.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
And so here it's really easy to kind of keep looping through the same dialogue, so you just need to press back.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in our country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
And yet I completely disagree with you, kind sir. Okay, so we have no further discussion with the father.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
We did, however, gain a new hint about Dorothea, so let's have a little look. So we still have 2 more hints that we need to find, and I want to try and find these before we go into the next part of the story, which obviously involves Dorothy Crane or Dorothea. So we've got at least, I'm just thinking, we've got these 3 people that we can speak to now. So I think I'm going to try and speak to them, and then if we've got time, we'll head on in and do the continuation of the main story.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
Yes, she's a nurse, and quite a good one. What did she do to gain such notoriety?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That that doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Okay, so that's another hint for Dorothy in that her dispensary, even though it's illegal, is free of charge to the citizens of Whitechapel and those in need. So that's quite a good thing.
Right then. Show me what you have.
So I am going to buy these tiny good handle pots. And I'm also going to buy the common handle pots. Because they can be quite difficult to get a hold of.
Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed, and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm a Harry, by the way. Even my dreams are soaked with gloom.
And first we're going to loot, because, well, we always do. We're not getting that. But there are some shillings over here. Alright, we'll do that now. Job refusal letter. Dear Mr. Peterson, it is my duty to inform you of our refusal to accept your application for a job at the dockyard. I must thank you for the time spent at our office explaining the difficulty of your situation with your ill boy and the loss of your beloved wife, but it is also my duty to point out the policy of our company, which expressly reproves the employment of former criminals or convicts. Your unfortunate connections with the ill-famed Wet Boot Boys have been duly noted. These are hard times, sir, and Finch and Harper intend to reward first the candidates who pass the small inquiry we like to conduct about our future employees. You have my deepest sympathy, and may God be with you and your family. Sincerely, R.D. Harper. So that gives us another hint on Joe Peterson. So let's go downstairs and talk to the young lad.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough like... well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
Okay, so this is another choice that we have to make. And I'm just going to say this one because there are obviously a lot of people that are worse off than what Harry is, so...
You have a roof over your head, a place to call home. Many people here are not as lucky, you know.
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. But I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody and frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
And that's a fair point. It's not exactly the nicest part of town.
Would it ease tensions with your father if he got an honest job? Because he tried, you know.
I can't say. I'd be glad if he dropped his thuggish activities, but I'm not sure it would be enough.
Why is that?
Sometimes I suspect it's me, Dr. Reed. Or it's this life. It's like I can't find my place.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
Okay, so we're going to leave
Goodbye,
it there
young man. Take care of yourself.
with Harry.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
So we've met everybody that we can in this immediate area. So I'm just going to check and see what everybody needs treatment for, and I'll probably go to Darius's house straight away and continue with the storyline, and then come back and treat all these people before I sleep. Because if I don't, these people will just get worse. The hospital, we've only got one sick at the moment with a headache, and I don't think we have the treatment for that yet. And in the docks, where we haven't been since the start, we've got somebody that's fatigued. Let me just check. Yeah, we don't have any treatments on us at the moment, so let's just have a quick look. What did everybody need? Fatigue. So that's 3, 4 fatigue, 1 bronchitis, 1 migraine, and a cold. We do have a hideout close by, so let's have a little look. I haven't opened it yet, so we'll have to go in the other way. Okay, so we can craft some fatigue treatments. So we need to get some potassium permanganate. So yeah, we need to get 8 potassium permanganate. So I'm going to check with a couple of the merchants and then see if we can just get that done. We're just going to open this because it will make us it easier for us to get in and out to this particular hideout.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
I've just had a thought. I have a whole bunch of stuff in my inventory that I've not recycled, and the chances are they will give some form of potassium permanganate. So yeah, let's just go back and double check on that, because I don't want to be wasting money, because the merchants can actually be quite expensive. And I have a really bad habit for not recycling my items, so I do need to be a bit more cautious with that. So, salicin, ergotamine, and opium. Here we go. So we can get some potassium permanganate from this. Let's see. So we still need 3 more potassium permanganate. So I'm just going to check with Barrett if he does actually have any. And if he doesn't, then the chances are Loretta does, so we'll just check with her. And I think the plan for the rest of the episode is to just go around healing as many people as possible, and then we'll progress with the storyline in the next episode.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? Right then. Show me what you have.
Good evening, my dear colleague.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back and make the bronchitis treatment, and then we're going to go around healing people. So I'm probably going to not speak too much.
Cheap price, good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.
Good evening, Harry. May I come in?
Sure. Sure.
Even my dreams are soaked with gloom.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
Do you need any medical help, young man?
Yes, I do. I feel so tired. I don't know if it's the epidemic, but everything seems so hard.
You'll feel better with this, but you need to get a grip, young man. Medication alone won't cure melancholia.
I'm not sure I'm happy with the idea of living long in a world like this. But I thank you for your concern, sir.
Goodbye, young man. Take care of yourself.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
Okay, so Harry's now recovering. Benjamin and Albert are in this area. We can't help Benjamin at the moment because we don't have the treatment for migraine, so he'll have to wait. But we can help Albert, so I'm thinking we might try to do that.
I should never have taken up my
I just have to remember where he is. Because Whitechapel is a little bit of a maze.
Give you faith again. Its effectiveness has been proven.
Here he is.
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now piss off.
Do you need assistance?
Please. Feeling tired these days.
There you go. Let's hope nobody steals it from you.
Very funny.
Goodbye, young man.
The wet boots will be proud of me.
sort of bloody joke to you, eh?
Good evening, Christina.
Change your mind, Mr. Reed?
Do you need any assistance, Miss Popper?
It depends on the price of your medicine.
I am shocked that you would think I am that sort of man.
Forgive my suspicion. I'm so used to liars with good manners. Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, miss. Take care of yourself as best you can.
So now we just need to find Clayton, and he's usually in this area.
Good evening, Doctor. Can I help you?
Do you need assistance?
That would be nice of you, Doctor. Who knows what I may have caught during my investigation.
If you persist in investigating the most pox-ridden boroughs of London, you must accept the risks.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
And we also need to go and see Richard Nethercott. And we just found another letter, which says, Sycophant Publishing Limited, Lavender Court, Camden Street, London. Dear Mr. Nethercott, thank you for sending your book of poems, Songs from the Defeated City, which we found as interesting and profound as we told you the first time we received it. Alas, in the terrible times our country is currently facing, you must understand that such a title would be totally inappropriate for any publication. Thus, since you still refuse to change your title and demand the full publication or none of your work, I am sorry to announce to you that Sycophant Publishing chose the second option. With kindest regards, A.G. Morris. So that's another hint for Richard. I'm not going to talk about it right now with him, I don't think.
Good evening.
Just because of the time
And good evening
for
to
the
you
episode.
too, my good sir. Can I be of any help?
Although,
You don't really
let's give it a
make
go.
living from your scribblings, do you, Richard?
No, sir, I don't. I work so hard. I put all my time, my energy, my devotion into the precise carving of words.
Still, you don't seem to suffer from poverty.
With thanks to my parents, actually. I'm afraid I would not be able to live on my own without their help.
You seem embarrassed.
Someday I hope to proudly offer my first publication to my parents. Until that day, I'll remain the failure of a son they have to support.
Did you know the Mute Florist is a member of a secret society?
No, I didn't. But I thank you for this information, sir. For it only enriches the mystery surrounding the precious camellia.
I fear you are a hopeless romantic, Mr. Lithercott.
Guilty as charged, Dr. Reed.
Are you not curious? Is there not more you wish to know?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her. Whatever she may be hiding, it's certain to be for the benefit of most, if not all.
Do you need medical attention, sir?
It may be wise to let you prescribe me something. I don't feel like I should.
I understand your appetite for words and macabre beauty, sir. But you should be more careful.
The nutrition of my mind is more important than my physical health. But I appreciate your concern, sir.
I'll leave you alone, sir.
Okay, so that's everybody that we can heal right now dealt with. They have treatment. We do need to give Darius medication for his bronchitis. But as that is part of the main story quest, I think we'll do that next time. But I'll get closer to them so that when we start next time, we can pretty much just go straight into it.
Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for peace of mind.
Okay, everybody, so let's do a little rundown of what we did this episode. We did talk to a lot of people today, and I'm sorry for all the dialogue, but that's just the nature of this game. We met pretty much everybody in Whitechapel now. We just got a couple of people, well, 3 people to meet, and we will be meeting them reasonably soon. We're unable to treat Benjamin Palmer's migraine because we don't have the recipe for that yet. And we will be treating Darius's bronchitis in the next episode, where we'll continue with the main story quest. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, please hit like and consider subscribing to the channel, as it really does